Hi, welcome to Preps Plus Podcast, Episode 8, brought to you by Sterling Auto Group. We're here with a man with many hats, Jordan Nailon. He goes, Winlock assistant, RBI head, Mark Morris graduate, pig farmer, and Chronicle Outdoors reporter. And of course, we have Jason Leskew, our Preps reporter, with always. I'm Joshua Hart, sports editor. I want to start with the Winlock baseball team here. Fell just short of the playoffs. What was that season like after a struggling year in 2016 to have the season you guys did put together and nearly make those playoffs?
Obviously it was a huge disappointment to come up that close and come up short. But, it was just a heck of a season to be a part of. Coming off of 0-20, that's really tough. I got to just take my hat off right away to the kids who went through that and had it in them to come back and sign up for more. I think a lot of people expected it to be just more of the same, and typical Winlock getting rolled over Beethoven. But the kids put in, like I said it before, and nobody worked harder than them this year. They came out, they wanted to change their fortune in a tough league that is just like, it's the gauntlet, and it's a misery to try to change your fortune. And we got after it early. We got 3 wins right out of the gate, and the kids really started to feel, like, shoot, maybe we can do this. Right. And like I said, it's a tough league, so we had some down times, and it was a constant battle of failure and trying to pick ourselves back up. And we got that close, which only made it sting that much more, But in the long run, I felt like, those kids we were in a playoff atmosphere the last week, like I told them after the game, or maybe it's before, I don't know, everything runs together in the end of the baseball season there. But I said, everybody's here who you've known your entire life, and maybe and the same people that you never want to see again. Right. But they're all here right now, and this moment, you'll remember this moment one way or the other. And so, to be there at the end of the year and have that opportunity to get there, obviously we would have liked to have got there, but they felt what it was like to play for something. And so I'm just happy for them to have gotten that experience.
How do you motivate kids to come out after an 0-20 season? A lot of them were seniors who had dealt with struggles for a couple of years. How do you motivate people? How much of it fell on the seniors to get kids excited? How much did it fall on Scott to get kids excited? How do you get people up after a 0-20 season to come out again?
Well, Coach Scott Weinert is a great baseball guy, so he helps as far as keeping the kids up. He's a really positive guy. He just loves baseball through and through, whether it's the Mariners, the Team USA, and the World Baseball Classic. I mean, it's talking old trivia, whatever it is. He's the true blue baseball guy. So if somebody is going to get the passion who hasn't had it before, he's the perfect guy to be around. And we had a tremendous senior class, 8 guys who were excited to play baseball, who put in work all through the winter, and we're trying to drag people out. When you think it's a graduating class of about 34 kids in Winlock, and you got, let's call it 50-50 males and females. So you got 8 boys. That's like half of the boys that exist. That's a pretty good ratio, and they've grown up playing together. And so you got the 8 seniors, the 8 underclassmen, and by the end of it, they were a true team. We'd gone through enough adversity that the walls of division had fallen down between them.
Right.
Yeah.
How exciting was that last doubleheader with the cross river rivalry? Everything seemed to kind of come together when you're facing the defending state champs for a playoff spot. It seemed like kind of all the stars aligned to make that game really big and have a high importance on it. What was that kind of atmosphere like for everyone to experience that?
It was like a storybook that had this horrible plot twist right at the end that I wasn't ready for, and nor was I expecting. The beginning of that, the first game, obviously, it's rainy, it's miserable, it's 40 degrees, it's the last week of baseball. We've been outside in the sun twice, maybe, and you're just like, what is this kind of alternate reality we're in here? And then you think, hey, this is the year we're going to take down Toledo. The kids are feeling it. Wham, they come out, 3 home runs, they're running around the bases, and it's 12-0, and it's like this nightmare. Where'd that come from? Rains out the second game. We come back out. It's 80 degrees now. It's a brand new day. You couldn't have asked for a better scenario to feel like you're going to change your fortune today. There's two bald eagles circling the sky, and it's like, is it like the old Warhawks? Like, what's that? The kids were they were feeling it. Right. They felt like they were in it, and we go down 7-0 right out of the gate, and you're like, hold on to your shoes, but they bucked their shoulders up, and, to their credit, they could have just rolled over and said, here it is again, accept their fate. They come charging back 6-7, bases loaded. I mean, they're taking extra bases. Their parents are losing their minds. It's like, it was just quite the experience for them to have there and get caught up, to truly be able to get caught up in the moment of competition. Right. And you got just two tiny little towns, man, and everybody was there. Right. It was pretty fun. Like I said, there was everybody and everybody you hope you never have to see again. So now they don't have to unless they choose to.
Yeah, definitely. Is that harder as a coach to lose in a game like that, in a season like that, than going 0-20?
I would never choose the 0-20 over that, but at some point, there's like a numbness that sets in, as much as you don't want to admit to it. I've never gone into a game in an 0-20 season thinking we were going to lose. Mm-hmm. I am an endless optimist, and I wake up every time we get swept in a doubleheader. I'm like, this is miserable. I wake up the next morning, it's like, hey, we're going to go beat Toledo, whatever. We're going to go beat Napavine at home. It's going to happen. Today is the day. And eventually, whatever, the season's over, and you're just kind of thankful to be able to move on and look for some new positivity. To get that close and then fail is a special type of sting. Right. It really, really is. And, like we experienced a similar thing with RBI last year, where we needed one game to clinch to go to the World Series. We had two opportunities to do it, and we got swept. We got that close. These were different stakes, but for a team that hasn't experienced a lot of success, mm-hmm. to punch our ticket to the playoffs would have been a very similar thrill. Right. And so to get that close, it's like, do you want to shelter yourself from the fear of failure, or do you want to go for it? And it hurt more. If we'd gone 1-19 and then we just lost that game, it's like, well, whatever. But they got that close, and so they gave themselves that opportunity to play for something extra. Yeah, it stung more, but in the long run, I don't think any of them would have changed it either.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you keep that momentum going and not let the kind of momentum all of Winlock sports have really received the past couple of years mm-hmm. die with that class of seniors?
I think the way that will sustain itself is just in the example that those seniors set. They were such a tight-knit group. They'd experienced so much together and never quit on each other. And they accomplished some pretty special things. The basketball program, obviously the soccer team's still going right now. And those younger guys came in and they saw that. And they saw what it can be, how special it can be if you allow it to be and give yourself that opportunity. Our JV season, we started with a JV season this year, lost some guys to attrition and didn't end up getting to finish that schedule, which was sad on one level because, those younger kids didn't get the innings that I would have liked them to be able to have. But at the same time, they got to travel with us every day. They all had jobs in the dugout, whether it's the bullpen catcher, warming up left field, obviously with the pitch count this year, we got like 2 guys with clickers in there going. It's like, mathletes. So everybody found a way to contribute and to be around that varsity team. Now they know what the expectation is, so they know, who knows, will we have the same level of success next year? It would be difficult. It's a lot of senior presence to replace. Right. But when we get this group up to their upperclassmen years, I think they'll have this experience to draw back on. And, there's just positivity. Recruiting should be easier coming off a season where you won, 6 games and had some opportunity and nearly made the playoffs. Right. So
Another program that philosophy has obviously been important, Rural Baseball Incorporated, started by the late Dave Orzel and Joe Bear. Jason wrote a story recently, but if you could sum it up simply, what is RBI all about?
So Rural Baseball Incorporated was, like you said, it was the brainchild of Dave Orzel and Joe Bear. They kicked it around for a couple of years. Joe, well, first of all, Dave had kind of run a program similar to that back in the early aughts, towards the end of the decade out of Kalama. It was the RSG Lumber Kings for years, and he just made a heyday out of finding kids who got passed over for the Legion team, or they felt like they weren't getting a chance, or whatever. You found those guys with the chip on their shoulder who were looking for a place to go prove themselves. And it was a lot of times it was a lot of rural guys. It was Wahkiakum. He loved to go pick out Wahkiakum. Rainier, Kalama, obviously. He always had some dusty, lefty who was going to come in and just strike everybody out. We didn't know why, but just because he willed that to happen. And so then they wound up coaching high school and summer ball together. And all the while, Dave just kept chipping. He's like, these rural kids need a place, because when you're going to a big town, whether it be Centralia or it be Longview, Kelso, those small schools typically can only send their best one, maybe two guys. And that doesn't really help your program. It helps that guy specifically and individually, but he was already your best player. You got to bring up the rest of the floor, bring everybody else along for that ride too. And so they wound up putting it together. We got a really big area to draw from and meet right in the middle in Winlock. We basically pulled from Tenino all the way down to Claskenai, Rainier. In the grand scheme of things, I've pulled guys from Forks to White Salmon before. And we just get out there and we just take all comers. Basically, it's like a barnstorming tour. We'll go play in the big city. We'll go play a small school. We'll go camp out on the field. We find extra ways to have fun. I think, we talked about a little bit before, is that my motto is that it's difficult to beat a team that's having more fun than you. And if you don't wait for things to go right and just start having fun right off the bat, that's a really difficult concoction to have to deal with on the opposing side. You're like, what's these guys' problem? Why are they so happy? And they're winning, and then you're losing, and now you're mad, and they're it's nice, you got to let the kids have a little bit of fun. Every once in a while, they toe the line, they jump over it, and we yank them back, and then rinse and repeat, right? Little learning process for everybody.
You saw that with the Toledo baseball team last year when they won their state title, of that kind of same philosophy of that having fun. They were constantly jabbering, and I saw Connor Vermilia, take this big cut and just fall to his knee, and then just starts laughing at it. And I just remember Asotin just being just so frustrated by the whole experience of having teams that was just laughing at their own mistakes. How does that atmosphere foster? How do you kind of foster that atmosphere of having fun, and do you take pride that it's carried over into all of Southwest Washington baseball? You saw it with 3 of the 4 teams in the Final Four last year were Central 2B League teams. So is it something you take pride in, and how do you foster it?
It's just something that I feel like if you set up the right conditions, it takes care of itself. If you have the right guys and they're baseball passionate, the Central 2B League has always been tough. There's always been this region in general is just it's more baseball crazy than the weather would lead you to believe. And if you're not from here and you've never experienced it, it might take you by surprise and wonder why. Who would want to go stand out in the rain for 3 months and call it athletics? But people are crazy about it. The kids they've known each other. They've all grown up playing against each other. So every single game is a rivalry game to some extent. And to the extent that I've fostered it, or that rural baseball has fostered it, I love the fact that it takes off. We try, of course, we're not perfect, and kids aren't perfect. We try to keep it positive. we try to not direct it at the other guy. Now, if you know the other guy and it's a personal thing, you know, sometimes they're kidding each other about something that goes back a decade, and I'm out of the loop. I don't even know. But typically, we're building each other up and trying to pump each other up to keep our energy high throughout the whole game. And that's what it is. Baseball is a game. It's a long game. There's pauses built into it. Kids got, you know, people in general these days have a bad attention span. So if you can help yourself to stay jacked up and engaged in the game, you're going to be better suited and better, you know, in a better position to make that decisive play later in the game. Your mind's not wandering. You're thinking about it. You're competing. You know, that's another thing that we pride ourselves on, is competing for everything. When there's a pass ball, nobody on base, or a foul ball to the backstop, we want to beat the on deck batter. Where there's no way we're letting the umpire go back there and walk it, you know, and pick it up. And we straight up stole from Mark Moore's basketball. We don't flip the ball to the official, you know. We go and hand it to him right in his hand, because obviously, you know, you don't want to disrespect the umpire. You don't want to make him look bad and drop it. You know, some of them might have bad eyes. I don't know. I've heard that about umpires from time to time. I would never spread rumors about officials, but you don't want to throw it here and have it change bifocals, and then it's on the ground and they got to bend over in the mud. We're going to sprint, run it, put it in his hand. Thank you, sir, and go back. You know, we're not sucking up. We're just trying not to hurt our chances here. You know, and so the kids really buy into it. You get a long fly ball down the left field line, and it's like a relay. It's like a relay group. They're like, one here, one here, one here, one here, and they throw it back in. And now they're out there sniping in the bullpen or something. I don't know. They're hard to keep track of. It's good, you know. But the inmates might be running the asylum a little bit, but I think the results are speaking for themselves.
Right. One of those ways of having fun is obviously the grease pig chase, the chicken chase, upcoming turkey chase. I was hoping you could tell everybody about the chicken chase last year and the ultimate result for the chicken.
Well, so we do that at our Orsi Memorial Tournament, the Haymaker Memorial, as we call it in Winlock. Done it from the very first year. This will be the third year of it officially being a Memorial Tournament. And Dave Orzel, being a Kalama guy, at their Kalama Fair, they always run the Crisco Classic. So we may have borrowed an idea and spawned it into our own a little bit. Orsi was definitely at least a one-time Crisco Classic champion. He'd be the first to tell you that if he's here. I competed once. I was not a champion, but I went hard. I was muddy. So, being that I farm myself, and a lot of our kids come from that type of background, it's just a fun way to get them engaged. It's a fun way for their parents to get engaged and think, they remember doing that sort of thing. And it's just a crowd pleaser. So we get them out there, we grease the kids up from their fingertips up to their elbow in Crisco, and we let the critters go in the far left field foul pole. Kids are in the opposite one. You got to go find your properly numbered critter and get it back. And we collect money. We dole out the proceeds to the winning team. Some of it goes to the RBI program, and a third of it goes to the Dave Orzel Memorial Scholarship, which goes to a local, not necessarily a student athlete. He wanted it to be that way. It goes to somebody who's passionate about whatever it is they're passionate about. He always said about his son, he wasn't going to make him be a baseball player. If he wants to be a freaking ballerina, as long as he's the world's most freaking passionate ballerina, he can do that. That's what it's all about. So we get out there just having a good time. The very first year, we got into a tight contest. Lower Columbia had a Legion team up there. We've been playing some tough back and forth battles. We've won one, they've won one. So now we're chasing pigs. Obviously, the competition, it continues. We happen to have a little bit of a ringer that year. Sean Godino, former catcher extraordinaire, pig whisperer, blue ribbon winner from the local fair, 4 years running. And so he was on our team, and that's just good coaching, I would say, to get him out there. And while the other kids are running around, diving, laying out and coming up short and just screaming their pigs up and getting them all wily, well, Sean he gets our players into a little V. We got a V funnel. and we just walk our pig all the way across the field, just calm. You know, he just, here we go, you know, calm. It looked like we might be not winning at the moment, but we were under control. So the Lower Columbia team, they get their pig. Now they think they've won it. They're celebrating. They're high fiving mom through the backstop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the official rules are you have to get the pig and all of your players to the foul pole. So while they're celebrating early victory, Sean Godino is just whispering the pig all the way to the foul pole. We pick it up. All three guys tag the foul pole. There you go. That's you know. But I mean, the Lower Columbia guys, they might say we cheated. I know they did say that, but controversy. You know, what's competition without a little controversy? But I'm just saying, it's in the rules. We won fair and square.
Mm-hmm.
I'll challenge it. We'll take the rematch anytime.
There you go.
We'll have to have them on next so they can dispute that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, who was Dylan Brown? Old Dylan Brown from Tootle Lake. He'd be a great voice on that. He's a pretty good pig chaser himself.
And a good baseball player too.
Oh well, sure, yeah.
Obviously, you keep up with sports around the area as well, and you know the Southwest 2B pretty well, I think, by now.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts? This will probably come out after the first rounds of games, but what are your thoughts on the upcoming Southwest 2B? Who do you like has good chances going forward and advancing?
It's the funny thing about that tournament is once you get in, I mean, anything can happen. It's as cliche as that sounds. It's just everybody beats each other up so much. You saw it right here at the end. Kalama dropping a game late that I don't think a lot of people would have predicted. The Tootle's going to be tough. Wahkiakum, I think, is a team to really keep an eye on. They got some guys who can throw it. They got some guys who can swing it, and they have power to all fields. And they're just they're a baseball savvy group is what they are. You can tell that they play a lot of baseball, and they've been doing that for years. Mm-hmm. And they are technically proficient. They're not going to beat themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of team you want to take into a win or go home type of situation.
Right. And they face Toledo, which to me is that's for the 2B, probably for, maybe outside the championship game, but the one game, it's unfortunate that's the first round, but mm-hmm. those are two really good teams that, I expected to go down the final 2 innings.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go that way. It could turn into a blowout. I don't see that happening. Toledo is a hot team right now. They're swinging their bats. A team that they hit 3 home runs against us through a driving rain and a wind blowing in. Right. That's a real. One of them was an opposite field shot. Those are real home runs, yeah. And that will play at any level against any opponent. And they've obviously been there before, right. And they expect to do well. The Toledo Indians coming off of the state championship last year, and they got seniors they're hot right now. 2-3 weeks ago they were the seller. They were dang near in last place, if not last place in the league, and now anything can happen. Right. They're playing with house money right now. Right. So
what I find frustrating is all those first games. If you weren't in the top 2 in the Pacific or Central, you're forced into a loser-out scenario. And in baseball, we know what can happen if you have one good pitcher. You could have, not the best team in the world from top to bottom, but you have one good pitcher, and you can win one game. Mm-hmm. It's just one game. And that's why I would say, Central 2B probably has 5 of the top 8 teams in the state, and yet there's going to be a couple of those teams sitting out the tournament. You saw Toledo last year. They lost to Napavine in the first round and came back and won the state title. So, let's say Wahkiakum has an off day for some reason, and, I think one of the best teams in the Central, and they're sitting at home for the playoffs. It blows my mind to think that in baseball scenario, it would be a one-game ordeal. I know the rain has affected things and stuff, but in basketball, heck, that tournament takes about 2 months to complete, it seems, because they have all 6th place and 3rd place games and all those type of things.
It'd be fun to extend it a little bit into the nice weather that I'm sure is just right around the corner here. But I guess it just puts that much more emphasis and importance on the regular season. and as much as we're in there hammering each other, and once you get in, anything can happen.
Right.
It's nice to have a little cushion and know that you can screw up. It's nice to be playing at home. The other thing I think will be interesting to watch play out is the way that the pitch counts start taking effect in these tournament situations. If you're in a win or go home, you can't be thinking about tomorrow and putting your guy on the shelf early and playing with is he going to stop at 50 or is he going to be 51?
Right.
Hey, what count do you have?
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many times you guys saw that happen. I know Castle Rock had a contested game this year. But we'll see. I mean, people are going to be really keeping track, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a game turn on that. Not necessarily a contested you went over the pitch limit, but one of the things we struggled with this year is when you're not necessarily a huge team as far as depth, it's difficult to get your guys warmed up because they're playing third base.
Right.
And he's leading off the next inning, and now he's on. And I know I want him to go in, but I can't just burn my 2 subs to, or should I? And so that's the really difficult thing. You got to know your own personnel. Can he handle going in cold? Does he need extra long time to warm up? There's just so many facets that pitch count really adds to the game. That as if this complicated game wasn't, just enough.
Right. I mean, you saw it last year. Asotin they had this dominant pitcher in the semifinals, and they tried to save him for the championship game. And Toledo comes out, they score a few runs off the bat, and they end up having to bring him in and burn him for 4 innings anyway.
Right.
So it'll be interesting, especially with the pitch count, because you don't have a set innings there. If a pitcher goes 20 pitches one inning and 15 the next, he's done for a day.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Jason, who do you like in that Southwest 2B district tournament?
I like Toledo and Wahkiakum a lot, but there's only going to be one that's going to make it past the first round. And I think that, in my opinion, would be if you pick a couple, 2 teams. If you just had it out of the Central and the Pacific, it didn't matter. That would be the matchup I want to see in the championship. So I like Kalama's chances this weekend. They have, I got it written down here. Kalama will play Ilwaco. I like Kalama in that. Tudor Lake place right here in Washington. I like Tudor Lake in that. Also, let's see, we got R.A. Long against Black Hills. I like Long in that. Kelso versus Wilson. If River Lipa is, which I presume will be the starter in that one. If he's throwing like he's thrown for a few games this year, Kelso's going to have a pretty good shot at winning that too. Right. So it'll be an exciting weekend, but kind of like you said earlier, like we were just talking about, when you got Wahkiakum and Toledo, it shouldn't be that way. Right. It really shouldn't be that way. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people go past their number one. I mean, you mentioned Ari Long with Caden Vanderwerf, how they respond. I think that's most of the time can be kind of counted on for a win. You look at Wahkiakum with James Anderson; he's up to 80-something strikeouts, a sub-1 ERA this year,
and he's throwing more than 2 strikeouts per inning pitched this season.
Yeah,
he's got 30 innings pitched and 84 strikeouts.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, you look at those, you think that's a pretty good certain win, but you never know. You look at Kalama with Cameron Walker, Napavine with Stanley. How one game they might be pretty solid, but I think especially in a tournament where they play so many games in a close amount of time, I think it's going to be how you use your number 2 and your number 3 and those type of things. So.
Can't forget Adna in the mix too. They got Burdick up there throwing. That kid's throwing. That's plus velocity at that level, and it's difficult for anybody. Plus, he hit for the cycle. Yeah. I mean, they're tough. They're a deep team. Yeah. They're well coached with Rookledge up there. Right. It really is. It's just and everybody comes out of this league so prepared to go to battle. Right. Once you it doesn't even matter once you're not playing a team that you know all their players. It's a relief,
Right.
Like even if it's not necessarily true, you know, you just feel that relief. Who knows? Maybe Owaka's great, but you're gonna be like, wow, yay, somebody we don't know and has been beating us up and beating them up. Right. Just a fresh look.
Yeah,
just a fresh look. What Kalama with their with Walker and gosh, I forget their catcher's name right now.
Hayden Wilson.
He's good. You cannot underestimate the importance of that battery synergy right there. He really knows what he's doing. You see it at the major league level, the guys dropping to a knee trying to catch with 2 strikes and trying to catch a low strike, and to see a sophomore kid doing that at this level, I mean, color me impressed.
Well, the thing with Hayden Wilson that's most spectacular to me, and I think Josh a little bit too, is he will pick off a guy at second base, not throwing a guy out who's trying to steal. Mm-hmm. Pick a guy off from behind the plate.
Right.
Just leading off too much. Yeah, just
kind of being catching him slipping there, just not being attentive enough.
When I saw him take the field in the old style Scully and pullover mask, I knew we might have some sort of issue to deal with there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been impressive since he was a freshman. I mean, at the minute he stepped onto that field, I think Brandon Walker was like, "Hey, this is a ball player."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he proved it.
It'll be interesting to see how baseball kicks off. It kicks off this Saturday, goes through most of next week, and then regionals are the following week, and we get to state at the end of the month. So that'll be interesting. Softball's winding up. Jason, what are some teams doing right now that you're looking at down the stretch here?
Well, to me, the most intriguing storyline for this next week is R.A. Long has 3 league games this week. They got, Ridgefield, Woodland, and Hawkinson away. The Ridgefield and Woodland games are at home, and they are probably going to need to win out in order to make the playoffs. That said, they've had a talented team all season and maybe just haven't put it together the way they'd like. And so their record, I don't think their record is indicative of how good they are. And so I think that if they very well could win out. Anything can happen, but they have the talent to win out this week and make the postseason there. Toledo's another team that needs to win out to make it. And then Castle Rock, of the couple that we just talked about. And Rainier, by the way, to the Lake are still really good. So I want to leave them out, but that's all that needs to be said, really. With Castle Rock, Trinity Ashby and Zoe Nagel last week, each threw a no-hitter, and then on the next day there, combined for a 1-hitter. I think that kind of sums things up for Castle Rock.
Trinity Nagel and Emily Ashby.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Zoe's the catcher. So, it's Trinity Nagel and Emily Ashby. They each threw no-hitters on the same day in a doubleheader win. And then the next day they combined for a 1-hitter. So I think they'll be fine. They beat La Center. They beat La Center the other day in a non-league game, which was weird. They played their 3 league games, just had to throw a non-league one on there, and ended up winning for the first time, I think, since their 2012 season. So, Castle Rock's going to be impressive, like you said, Rainier Tootle. You were at Kelso softball the other day. What did you see from them in capturing that league title?
10-0 in league, and that says a lot there. This is gonna be the tough part. Is they have 1 week. They don't play playoffs this weekend. They have another week to wait, and no games scheduled now. Their athletic director Lynn Hyatt is trying to figure some things out. I know Gig Harper had been talking about coming down. That could happen, might not. But I think that's going to be the tough thing. You know what a layoff can do. You don't want to fall into a mental lull, and obviously reps for pitcher, for hitter, that's always important. So
it's tough to keep the kids going. It gets stale when you're wanting to compete and you're just seeing the same faces every day.
Right. And Coach Dean Sorensen, I know, wanted to play the next day. So did the kids after they beat Prairie 1-0. That was just
Thursday.
So that's if they can get a game in or 2, then that's, I think, going to be important. If they can't, I think that'll hurt them. That said, they have a tremendously talented team. They have three very good pitchers. They can hit. Sadie Harris has kind of been their superhero this season, I think, in a lot of ways. She's walk-off, double, or single, I guess, technically. She hit the home run to win it yesterday. There was only 4 hits total in that game between Prairie and Kelso. So, they're a very competitive team, extremely talented. But if they don't get a game in, that's going to be tough to deal with, I think, mentally for them.
That's why RBI plays 60 in a season.
Yeah,
get after it. That's right. Get after it.
We also have 2 soccer teams in the playoffs. I'm going up to Tumwater tomorrow to watch R.A. Long. They beat them in the same situation last year. R.A. Long's very talented offense, and Jose Rodillo is a great goalkeeper. So I think anything can happen in that one. And then, of course, one of the area's best soccer teams, Toledo Winlock's United program. And they play next week as well, starting in their district tournament. They went to state last year. Should be interesting to see how they progress as a team. It seems like they've had an even better season somehow, and have to take that next step when they have to face a Seattle school or something like that has 20 kids that are all year-round players, whereas Toledo Winlock might have 8 or less.
Well, and that's a team. They're so deep. 14-0 win in their final game, and they were subbing guys out that hadn't gotten much PT all season, and that kid comes in and scores a goal. It's like, what are you going to do against a team like that?
That leads perfectly into trivia time. I want to ask Jody here first before I give away last week's answer. Our question last week was, how many career goals did Adair Gary Bay end with for United program? If you want to guess a number here.
Wow. Okay. So 4 years.
4 year.
Okay. Gotta get caught up here. So we have 44.
44. Almost double that. Or actually more than double that.
Dang.
99.
99.
99 career goals.
Wow.
And let's say if you average about 20 games a year for 4 years, you're averaging more than a goal a game. So he had an impressive career. The winner of the trivia question, Andreas Malinat, Adair's teammate, was the first to get that one correct. So thank you, Andreas, for responding.
I've shown my soccer blind spot.
Our question this week relates to the Winlock baseball program. And so tweet us your responses and comments. The question is, when was the last time Winlock baseball made the state playoffs? So tweet us, comment online, comment on YouTube, wherever you watch our video, Facebook, wherever. Comment with your answer for a chance to be shouted out on our next podcast. And that's about it for us here. I want to thank Jody for coming out all the way from his farm all the way down here, and Jason for breaking some stuff down. Also, thanks Sterling Auto Group for sponsoring our podcast yet again, and we will see you next week.